3 Points of Articulation podcast. Hello, welcome to the 3 Points of Articulation podcast, bone crushing sessions. My name is the Big Tasty Jamie Wills. Bone crushing sessions have never been more apt as they are today with my guest, Jack Slime from Figure Collections. Jack, how are you?
I'm great. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, really good, really good. Really excited to talk to you. This is one line that come up on my news feed, and I thought this is the best news that I've heard in a long time. So yeah, really happy to have you on.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of wrestling figures, going back since I was 5 or 6 years old. So, and part of that entails some older types of figures. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, perfect. This is right up my street. I love a bit of bone crushing action. I think it's gonna be very exciting. So first of all, you guys have a deal with Chella. You see your logo quite a lot when it comes to the reveals. How did the sort of the backstory of that come into play with Chella? Because you guys are based over there, Chella are based over here. How did that come about?
So I do a lot of distribution of action figures, particularly wrestling. That's where a lot of my customer base, they collect a lot of wrestling stuff. I had noticed Chella Toys through social media, and it looked like they didn't have a lot of distribution in the United States. So I reached out, and they got back to me. And starting with the Nick Aldis retro figure, we've been partners since then, and things have just been smooth sailing. Charles, who owns Chella Toys, he's a super nice guy. Nothing but nice things to say about him. He knows what he's doing. Also loves action figures, particularly wrestling. So it's kind of a dream come true, I think, as a wrestling figure collector. I would think to have two people who are wrestling fans be bringing you a toy line based because we are collectors, so we kind of know what we're going to want.
Exactly, and what we're looking for as fellow collectors, which is the ideal market. So as everyone says, I think when we spoke to Brian Clark, he said how nice Chella were, and Charles in particular. He said that's one thing they've got going for them is how nice of a company they are to work with. So it explains why they can get such big names like Brian Clark, who's a relatively big name, isn't it? So the figure collections themselves, we had a brief chat before about the website and how vast the full lists are on there. What was your thought process behind sort of making a list of a checklist, basically, of every action figure?
Well, it's been a pretty daunting task. We actually started the figure collections figure database in 2007. Josh, who's the other figure collections owner, he handles kind of like the programming end of it, and then I kind of help with the input. And then since I have pictures of most of these toys anyway through our eBay store and whatnot, I usually upload the pictures, and then that kind of fills in the whole checklist. So right now there's over 44,000 figures, I believe, with over, I want to say, at least 80,000 images total. Not everything has images, but there are a lot of things that have multiple images. But we have a complete, basically, checklist and just anything you can imagine as far as information goes for about everything wrestling related. And then it kind of goes from there. We got a ton of Power Rangers, Mortal Kombat, just video game like Sonic, Nintendo stuff too.
That's great, isn't it?
Full wonderful stuff in there.
That's a good business idea, because I don't think it's people drawing people to the website who are then looking at the store and so on. It makes complete sense. You come for the figures, but you stay for the checklist, didn't you?
That's right. I will say when we started the database, I didn't have the store at the time, and then the store ended up kind of being something to supplement my side, like kind of my side hustle. Then that kind of grew from there into being my full-time gig. And now I just do toy stuff from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. It's super cool.
Yeah, and what could you possibly want? I'm sure you're telling 10-year-old you that it's the dream, aren't you?
That's right.
So with, obviously you said they started off with the Nick Aldis Retro. Was that the sort of the Red Pants original? Because you had an exclusive as well, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah. So we had the Red Pants original one. And then from there, I asked Charles if it would be possible to consider other exclusives. And then we kind of got the ball rolling. He asked me what I would be, interested in. And as soon as, the the purple pants with the blood was available, I said, heck yeah, let's go for it. That's obviously the number one. That's the first retro with blood as far as I'm aware of. So
It is also, apart from the figure toy company that release style, retro style, just covered in blood, but they're very different
oh
shape and
yeah,
mold on
those
them.
were a bit taller too, I think.
Yeah. But is it the Crocker Cup? Is that the Nick Aldis for the blood?
Yeah, that's it.
It's a great figure. It's a very hard one to find these days, isn't it? So we've got you to
Yeah.
blame for that, have we?
I priced them low, and then just like they all sold out in like, I want to say, a week and a half or less. Now I see them on eBay for like double, triple the price.
Over here's just as bad because obviously on the website there's only 100 of certain ones. People were picking them up and sort of checking out as quickly as possible, missing out on certain ones, and then all of a sudden blue pants pop up, purple pants popped up, and eBay just went crazy with them. Which is the best way to do it, isn't it? It's the way to get the ball rolling, way to get the people talking.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You can do it. So same with the bone crushers. So how did the deal with Chew and Chella, as you talked about the previous ones, how did the bone crushers come up? Did you pitch the idea to them, or did they say, Jack, look, we've got an idea?
Well, I was actually working on a 3-part series for YouTube on our YouTube channel. Quick plug, youtube.com/figure collection. There you can find just all kinds of action figure history stuff. So part of that, I did a 3-part series on bone crunching action, and covered everything from 1996 to the end of the run. And while I was working on that, it just seemed like it was kind of crazy that nobody had started to do any tributes to that kind of style of figure, where you have like the other style or the other figures being tributed, and not even just in wrestling, but like in Marvel and stuff. You see the tribute packaging all the time to the 90s Toy Biz stuff.
Yeah.
They just don't put Toy Biz on the packaging or anything, but that's fine. So yeah, I was pitching it for quite a while, and then Charles was just like, okay, we'll give it a try, but you should take the ball and see if we can get something going. Yeah, so then from there we found our art designer, Matt. I found him on Instagram. He does amazing work, and he's a huge fan of like 90s wrestling toys, and so it's nice to have somebody who's like who was a collector back in the day be working as a part of on the line, because you don't want someone who's just gonna half-ass it or just like phone it in or be like, I think this is what they want. So no, like, he was a collector, so he has the brain for it, he has the heart and mind. So
well, definitely, I think that's one of the most important things, is that as wrestling figure collectors, you need to know what your market is and what your target audience is. So just like as you've seen recently with a retro style company where they've got the artist in and they've done drawings, but the drawings haven't looked as good as everyone was hoping, or as toyetic, because they don't know the characters that well, and also they don't know the figures that well. So it's sort of hard for them to draw what they think a figure should look like, but then in reality it might not come out as good, if that makes sense. Prime example is this blue blazer here. If we're like toyetic, but I think if you're going to produce a figure as toyetic as the ones that you guys have, that's what these figures need. These style figures. It's just being as toyetic as possible, and just really having those can't miss looks about them, which it's just what attracted me to this style figure to start with. So really happy for you guys to sort of get this ball rolling with this.
Yeah, thank you. I think what I'm most excited about too with this is just getting people action figures for their first time. Like we just announced today Ultimo Dragon and Sonny Ono. And Ultimo Dragon in the mid to late 90s, he didn't have any action figures with WCW, which was pretty wild. You want someone who's going to appeal to kids. I feel like Ultimo Dragon would have been it. I would have loved to have one of his figures back when I was like 10, back in the Attitude Era.
Can you imagine it with all the belts?
Yeah, man, dress him up.
Awesome.
So that and Sonny Ono we have too, both in like kind of a greenish, bluish attire. You picked the correct terminology for the color, but
Turquoise, I'd go with. I'd go with,
Turquoise. There
I'd
you
go
go.
with turquoise.
I'm excited for both of them. I've personally talked with Sonny Ono, and he's very excited about this figure, and we are too.
Because it's a very eccentric character, you can say about Sonny Ono, from sort of interviews as well as his WCW run when he was managing the sort of New Japan stable that they had with Jushin Liger as well as Ultimate Dragon, sort of what 96, 97 it would have been. So it slots right into the era of when sort of this
Right.
homage would have been.
Hmm.
My favourite thing about it, I'm glad to say, is the removable entrance gear from a dragon.
Yeah, we're gonna have that going for it, which is pretty cool. And then underneath, you might notice a body of a figure that looks similar to one that you might have had in your childhood. I'll let you, put your
Possibly.
detective goggles on and figure it out. But so we have that going for us, which I'm super excited about. And then we have Brian Clark, which we mentioned previously, and Blue Manie. All these characters I feel like are characters that are just gonna fill out your rosters, and especially with Sonny Ono, him being in the 6-inch size and being a manager, I think it'll look good on your shelf regardless of what style of toy you collect. If you're kind of like a current day collector with the 6-inch figures, you'll
Mm.
be able to pair it up with Sonny Ono pretty well, I think.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the New Japan figures coming out at the moment,
Yeah, absolutely.
which will look perfect. So obviously, this is the first 2-pack that we've seen announced. Has been the Ultimate Dragon and the Sonny Ono.
Mhm.
Also, we'll touch on the single packs in a second. But was there always the plan to have as a 2-pack, or was it a request from someone? Or
I kind of was inspired by 2-packs from back in the day.
This one
And
comes to mind.
there you go.
One,
There's a 2-pack from back in the day of Jackal and Kurgan.
which,
So I will say while you're holding that up, a lot of the packaging inspiration that we're going to use kind of comes from the old days. I'm not saying we're going to copy anything because it's not what I'm.
no,
That's not my goal here.
a little wink, a little homage,
Yeah,
and so on,
a
but
little
original.
nod. Yeah, absolutely. But I think that'll kind of make it fun for people too. Similar to how like the Chella retros kind of might remind you of something from back in the day. This will kind of remind you of something from back in the day as well.
Exactly, and that's what you need sometimes, just a little reminder. It's not too close, but it's a nice, just a little going into a shop, picking it up, and having that nice open feeling, which is what you want. Because also I spoke with Dan Friedman, who does he's got the Squared Circle toys, and he's releasing a line soon, which the packaging for that has a big homage to the bone crunching or the ringside line.
Mhm.
So I think this has become more of so they say a rule of 30, but people my age, I'm 31, are going to be looking at this packaging because it's going to remind them of their childhood and have that little homage to it. Which I think, yeah, the packaging wise, it has to be. It has to be that little feeling, doesn't it? The bubble has to be perfect like that. The background has to be toyetic and a bit metally, I always refer to it as. Was that who's doing the designing for that, or can you not reveal?
I'm happy to say, so Matt, our designer for the toys, he's also designing the packaging,
Oh, perfect.
which again, having somebody who's inspired by the past working on this is, I think, probably the best route as far as what collectors would want. So that's pretty exciting, and I think they'll match up pretty well to the earlier carded figures rather than anything later.
So I do. That's what you want. The sort of excuse the pun, but the matte finishing, should we say?
Yeah, there might be an insert inside the packaging too. It's kind of like similar to that style.
Say no more, as they say. But the Blue Mini was obviously the first figure that was revealed from the line. So, I mean, this for me was my prediction because I think this is what I said was more of a prediction and a hopeful guess because I figured this would be the one that would fit perfectly into the line as well as having sort of that homage to that era of the Job Squad and the bone crunching era, basically. Was that always the plan to, because he once Blue Mini had his retro, was he always the plan to sort of get into the Series 1, or did he take some persuading?
I don't think he took much persuading. He's been really easy to work with as far as everything goes. One of the easiest, honestly. And when you're thinking about that era, you want to kind of fill in those gaps, and he was a logical fit as far as I'm concerned. And I pushed for it and didn't really take a lot of convincing from anybody really. It was like, yeah, let's go for it.
That's good because he obviously got members of the job squad that they didn't do, as you said before, filling the gaps. So you've got your Dwayne Gill and your Blue Meanie and even Flash Funk in that attire as well. So there's a few gaps there that need to be filled in those lines. So I look forward to Meanie coming out, as well as Brian Clark, which I think the biggest surprise to me is it didn't go by the Adam Bomb name with it. Do you know any more about that?
There's just some things that I didn't want to. We're just getting our foot off the ground, so as far as stepping on any toes or ruffling any
Right,
feathers or whatever expression you want to use, I was just trying to avoid any troubles with that.
right,
Uh,
okay.
this was something that I kind of pushed for, and I feel comfortable leaving it at that.
Yeah, yeah, it's forward thinking, I guess is the term.
Mhm.
But attire-wise, toyetic again. Also, just like his Chella figures, the retros that are coming out.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I think people are. I mean, if you're a fan of wrestling, you know who Brian Clark is.
yeah,
Regardless of what you put on the packaging, he's very unique as far as his character goes. So yeah, Brian, we're happy to have Brian Clark a part of the deal.
and lovely guy as well. Very nice guy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Cracking guy. So with that, it comes with the accessory of the goggles, which you can take off just like the figure. Once
Yes. Yes.
again,
The atomic goggles.
that's yeah, incredible idea because you didn't really get many accessories that made sense with the bone crunching line. So I'm really happy that you've got accessories that make complete sense.
Yeah, there isn't going to be a breakable box TV or a leaf blower in this line.
Or a broom, or just
Yep. Yep.
yeah, just as accessory packs. So as far as like the bone crunching, so like how many are going to be in series one? Have you guys revealed that? Have you come to terms with how many figures?
Yeah, our plan is to do 4 singles for series one, and then 1 2-pack, of course.
Right.
So far now we have 2 left to go, as far as the singles go, and we're pretty darn close to finalizing series two and looking towards series three. So we're planning on this being a hit. So hopefully the numbers justify continuing it, because we've got some really cool things planned out if the demand is there.
Well, I've set my alarm for January 22nd,
Yeah.
2022, because that's also I'm going to have to pick up a lot of these because my display is this style of figure. So I think it'll slot perfectly into it. Also, what is that the sort of the risk that you guys are taking at the moment? So you got series one, as you said, locked up. Series two is all but complete. With what Chella are doing at the moment, their retros are selling like hotcakes. I can't see it going any other way than up, realistically.
Yeah, I kind of hope so too. Our price point we're shooting for is going to be similar to the retros. I feel comfortable saying that.
Mm.
Plans change, pal, but we're gonna do our best. So that's my goal as far as all that goes. And yeah, there's a lot of production costs involved with these toys,
Mm.
especially having the bone crushing feature involved. I feel like that was crucial to, if you're gonna call it a bone crushing
It's got to
wrestler,
have the
it's gotta have the feature. Like there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So but yeah, with all the costs involved, we kind of have to see how series one does to before we start, kind of planning. I mean, we have already planned out series two, and some of that is pretty far into the planning stages or production, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
um, but yeah, again, so it'll just kind of take seeing what those series one numbers look like. But I'm just seeing how things are kind of going so far. And as far as like um shoot, how should I phrase this, as far as like the A+ level like talent goes, we do have one name planned for series one that we haven't announced yet.
Right.
And it's not somebody that Chella is currently working with. So if you want to take those names off the table, if you're being a detective again. So I'm super excited for that, and then we've got another name announced too that I'm equally as excited about for other reasons. So um, just that everything has been a dream come true so far too. Again, I'm like a collector too, so having a chance to work on this and then reaching out to wrestlers myself and
Mm.
personally having contact with these people and going about things as respectfully as possible and um, you know getting
It's
the
got to
toy
be.
stuff. It's
It's
been
got to
a
be.
dream.
It'll be crazy for you, isn't it? Because you're as you said, you're reaching out to these guys, and obviously they're then coming back and you're speaking to them. You're getting to learn so much about things that when you're a child you just didn't think two minds about. You just picked them up from the shop and didn't care less, did you? But now as an
Yeah.
adult, it's interesting, isn't it, to how the sausage is made essentially.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't believe like having some of these people's phone numbers. They're safe with me in case anybody's
No,
listening,
yeah.
but it's wild.
It's good though. So obviously the rest of series one, I won't probe too much into it, but from what we've seen from different interviews and from blogs and stuff, I understand that there's someone that's not had a wrestling figure before. Is that Sonny Ono? Can we tick that off the
Uh,
list?
Sonny was one of those people. So we have two people in series one who have never had an action figure before.
Right.
Uh, so as far as wrestling goes, I mean, so many people have had toys through the years. To have two in one series, I think is pretty monumental.
Hmm.
And hopefully that's enough to drive eyeballs and interest into purchasing some figures in the first series.
Yeah, definitely. I think Sonny Ono is one of those things that deserves an action figure, as you said at the start. So fingers
Definitely.
fingers crossed, don't give anything away, but Dwayne Gill for the other one, so I don't think he's an action figure yet. And yeah, as you said for the final one, the other clue we were given was that it's not someone that's signed up for the Chella line already, which is what was revealed after Brian Clark. So the last four in the series were never going to be already signed to Chella, which is good to see because I mean, that was I want to say it's the worry, but that's what everyone thought. Oh, it's going to be Nick Aldis. It's going to be Josh Chernoff, for example. It would have been good if it was, but at the same time, yeah.
Great. I appreciate all the kind words you said about everything we've done. Yeah, so the first series, four names that are previously not signed to Cella, I think that kind of that I think excited people, like you were saying. And that's not to say that those people can't be done in retro form.
Mm,
That's another point, but I just wanted to make sure people knew that we weren't relying on just
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
people Cella Toys has a relationship with. I've been happy to make my own contact with a lot of people, and I've been selling toys for shoot 15 years now, I think. So
Mm,
since I was 17. So I feel like I've built up enough of a positive reputation. People can kind of see all the things that have been said about us. So there's really, in my opinion, no reason why they shouldn't want to work with us. And so far, nobody's outright been like, no, we're not going to work with you.
and that's so it says a lot, doesn't it? Especially
Yeah,
in the
I will say
industry.
there are some people we have reached out to that are signed to other toy deals through like they have like the WWE Legends deal, so
Mm.
that put the kibosh on that. So if anything changes with those people, I will definitely be reaching out. But for the time being, those people are off of our list at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine that went down like an anvil. Should we say?
Yeah, I'll say it. I've kind of put the feelers out there for Anvil, and I haven't really heard anything back, and I'm assuming
Mm.
it's because of that.
It would be, yeah, because I think we speculated about it before, and we thought that would be like that'd be a dream
Oh
pick,
yeah, I
but
mean, I'm trying to fill out that heart foundation. So, like I said, I'm a collector too. So I've got my priorities in mind, but also not like I'm not being selfish about it. Like I think it's stuff legitimately people will be excited
oh,
about.
100%. It was as soon as I saw this was announced, that was the one that I thought of. Was yeah, hopefully we can get that in because we haven't had a style or a toy line that's had every single member of the foundation in. We've always
Yeah,
been
it's
missing one.
crazy. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask was the series one. Will they be released at the same time, or will they be released in in sort of staggered?
Currently, the plan is for series one to be more kind of staggered. I think so. With the first series, I'm pretty sure right now the plan is to do a pre-order for Brian Clark and Blue Meanie at the same
Right.
time, and then obviously the two pack will be
Yeah.
its own release. And then the final two, I'm thinking those two will also be grouped together. Can't confirm that yet, but that's kind of the plan.
That's the dream.
Yep. So, and then after series one, assuming everything's going smoothly, it's hard to imagine, just kind of based on how far we are with some of the people in series two, that they won't happen, or at least a few of them won't happen. Regardless of how things go. But our plan is, if everything's successful with series one, which again I think it will be, series two will probably do more as like one solid group. But again, it all kind of just depends on production times too. We have so much cooking right now. It all just kind of, with like COVID and all the backlogs and distribution and everything, it's hard to predict how all those things will go, but just kind of like, we're doing everything on our end to try to make sure everything goes as smoothly and in a timely manner as we can. So hopefully it all pans out how we want.
So I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it, with the especially with like series ones and early series of stuff, because we've got two issues really. You can either release the full series and people might just pick and choose who they want from the series, or you can stagger it and obviously you have the first two released. People can then actually one payday you can get those, and then the next one comes out in a few months' time. So yeah, I think there's two ways about it, and I think I'm happy with either, truth be told. It's just I know with the postage costs, people tend to prefer if it's all for one. It can't be helped, can it?
Yeah, no, that's true. So I mean, if you think about it like that, if we did do all of series one at once, and let's just say we are keeping to the retro price point, that's around $40 in the US. So 40 times 4 is 160. Are most people going to want to spend 160 on 4 figures right off I don't know.
Especially for a season one, for a series one or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that makes complete sense. Just getting the Meanie and Brian Clark in our hands, just so we can show and then get us hooked on it, I guess, as the taster, should we say. So yeah, I think for the line itself, as I said before, I'm very excited by it. Any final words on the actual bone crushing line yourself? Any what's your dreams and aspirations in a few years' time?
I'm thinking 2022. If everything goes well, we'll have at least 2 full series done and in collectors' hands. And if that's the case, if things go smoothly, we'll have a series 3, a series 4, and so on and so forth.
And a ring.
Yeah, I mean, sky's the limit, right? So I also, if I could, I just want to thank everybody for their support so far with everything, just because when we've been planning it for several months, we didn't know exactly how the community was going to take it, and everything's been overwhelmingly positive. And I hope it stays that way, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure everybody's happy. And in the toy collecting world, that's not really possible. You're not going to make 100% of everyone happy, but we're going to do the best we can. And I've got the retail and shipping experience to back up all the orders and everything. So I'm excited to bring out everything I can, and I know Charles over at Chella Toys, he's equally as excited. And then our designer, who's pumping everything out, if he can keep up with all the work I'm giving him, then he's doing great. Love that guy.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's the passion from you guys has been sort of throughout this campaign. So I have no doubt that it's going to be an excellent tournament to have in hand. So can't wait for it to come out. Can't wait for Joey to take seconds so I can spend some money with you.
Heck yeah. I'm gonna have a whole set for myself too, that's for sure.
That's loose and mint on card. That's the dream. So one thing we always do on the bone crushing sessions is we have a fantasy wrestling league, which is obviously you guys have fantasy football, which is different to our fantasy football, but very similar. With basically you score points each week and you pick your wrestling team of current day wrestlers. Pick me 5 of your current day wrestlers which you would put in your fantasy wrestling team, and why, please?
All right. Well, I'm sure this wouldn't be a winning team as far as like the point values would go, but I would have to go with local. And as far as local, I'm based out of Indianapolis, and there's kind of like they call that the Midwest over here.
Right.
Uh, and in the Midwest, there's kind of like there's been several locals who've kind of made it big. Um, and so for my five, I'm going to pick all those locals who made it big. I'm going to pick Brian Pillman Jr., Cincinnati. I'm going to pick John Moxley, also Cincinnati, but used to wrestle in Indianapolis all the time. I'm going to pick Ricochet, who also got a start here. I'm going to pick Chuck Taylor, who is also pretty big in Indianapolis, surprisingly. And then I'm also going to pick Ruby Soho because she's my girl and she's also from Indiana.
So it's a good team. You say it's not going to win anything, but they're on TV pretty much every week, apart from obviously Moxley at the moment. But I think that's crossed he's back as soon as possible. But Brian Pillman Jr. is tearing it up at the moment.
Yeah, there's a ton of people there with potential. They're gonna move up the ranks next year, I think. Moxley, when he's back and healthy, I think he'll be up there too.
Because he was making a tear through the division before he took his sabbatical. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how he comes back. And Ruby Soho has made a big return there. She felt like a big deal when she came into AEW.
Yeah, and I don't follow a lot of WWE stuff, but from what I've read, it doesn't seem like Ricochet ever gets a fair shot. I hope.
I think they've gone for the underdog story at the moment. So he's almost like he nearly beat Drew McIntyre. He nearly won a gauntlet match last week. So they're very much going for the storyline that they pitched for Jeff Hardy, obviously before he left, where it's just like an underdog coming through. So fingers crossed they've got a storyline for him. Hopefully he gets the push that he deserves that we saw in NXT.
Definitely.
And who was Chuck Taylor, Chucky T.
Yep. Chucky T.
He's a character, isn't he? I think it was a good run with Best Friends.
Yeah, I don't feel like he's got a good chance to show off his charisma quite yet. If you dig on YouTube, you can see a lot of his like early stuff. He used to feud with Ricochet, and it was quite a hoot. So
his backstage stuff used to be quite funny. You watch sort of skits and stuff that he used to have, and even in the ring as well. He's quite a character in that, especially with his finishing move, the Awful Waffle, which is
great.
It's great, a great name, great character, and I think AEW is certainly making waves at the moment, aren't they? Just like you and Chella, complete full circle back to you.
Right on. Appreciate it.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, thank you for taking this interview. Honestly, thank you for taking the risk as well with the Bone Crushers figures.
Happy to, Jamie. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. My pleasure. And we'll see you around, and we'll make sure we put all the links in there, and we'll make this a success. And we'll see you soon.
The 3 Points of Articulation podcast.